Okay, so as we start off again, if you can give me some ideas about how Altech or your division or anything related to your job is currently already using the type of digital channels. It need not be for final customers, it can be for employees as well. So any stakeholder and how you are engaging with that at this point in time. So you obviously use email.
I think at the moment now, well, I'm just talking from my department because our customers are the users. Mm-hmm. So we just rely on email feedback.
Okay, and what would you send?
Sorry?
What would you send?
No, I wouldn't send anything. They would send and say, okay, fine, thank you for whatever, or your prompt service. Mm-hmm. So that's the feedback.
Okay, but how do you solicit that? How do you get people to send you those emails?
They just send it. Obviously, we give them a better service.
Okay, but they still have the email address to send it to. Is it sent to a salesperson? Is it?
No. Well, look, I mean, I've got guys reporting to me, which are the desktop technicians. Mm-hmm. So obviously, if they go and give a user good service or prompt service, whatever it is, I would then get a response back from the manager or from that specific user to say, well, thank you for, sorting out the problem promptly, properly.
Or not.
Or not.
Or the other side to say, I still have the problem. No? So, but how do I contact you if I'm the user and I have a problem?
Look, it could be various ways. We used LinkedIn, not LinkedIn, Microsoft Link, via email.
Okay.
Or we've got a help desk platform.
Okay, great.
Where, they could actually escalate it or not escalate it.
So the important part of something like that is to say that if I am the user and I have a problem, do I know who to contact?
Yes.
And do I have multiple channels through which I can contact the person, and then once I have received help or not help, then I have the opportunity to give feedback in that. So to make sure people have all the information in terms of it. So the marketing part is almost making sure that the user knows who to contact, that type of thing.
The service desk doesn't cater for basically feedback. So what happens is that a user would log a request, I've got a problem, that request will be automated going to a technician. The technician will do the job, he'll close the log, but there should be one step further than that. There should be a case where let's call it user satisfaction, where they could say yes, it was handled, and then we could take that stats.
Yes.
And we could work on that.
Yeah, stunning.
Yeah.
So if you think about the idea of, so even if you are on a Skype call, and then after the Skype call, there's an automatic little thing that appears that says, do you give this call 5 stars, 4 stars, 3 stars? Yeah. Very simple in that, no in-depth analysis in it, but it does give you an immediate rating. And then you can build a tool at the background that says how many people have been helped today, how many things have been resolved. And obviously, if you are doing well and you want even an internal positioning inside an organization, you can have it on a web type page, on an intranet where people can say this is how your services are running, or you are marketing yourself all the time. At the end, management do have to give you budget and that, and there are requests that we have. So you have an internal marketing campaign that you influence the stakeholders on your side.
We're busy at the moment doing performance appraisals and that. So where you want to be able to evaluate your subordinates properly, you could you could say, okay, fine, look, here's the stats. Yes, you did do that, whatever it is. At the moment now, I'm just using, well, how many logs did you do today? What was the time period that you did them? Whether you actually did the job properly or you had to go back and do it again, is not really there.
Yes.
So that could be more accurate.
But that's the opportunity then, to say, how do I make sure people know how to contact us? How do I market my services? Because this is on an internal and an external level. It is not just on an external level. So how do I market my services to people? How do because what we are seeing quite a lot in terms of customer satisfaction, that whole idea of happy customers and happy employees, there's a link between the two. at the end.
Yeah.
So you want to, when in cases where people are doing really well, you want to make sure you get the cultural gains, the positive culture gains from that. So how do you use that information? Said, what information can I use to promote our department, but also to promote a positive culture inside the organization? So then that's that fine line, and you'll see right at the end, is these strategies work by linking HR and ops and marketing to one another. It is not just marketing in. It needs to make the organization more effective in. So even if you are sitting in that organization, looking at in that situation, looking at something like this and said, okay, how do I get the client to engage? How do I get my employee to engage? And how do I get better management information from that process automatically? We're so often still in that mindset that thinks that research is something that is commissioned separately from work in. We need an employee satisfaction survey, or we need a customer satisfaction survey. But what if the process of doing the work is also the marketing, is also the customer satisfaction research in? Imagine your greater efficiencies that you can get for that, and well, it's just more accurate at that point in time than in any case going in after. And, okay, good example, thank you. What else? Things that you are using digital tools to get your work done in a certain way, and that can possibly be enhanced.
I did a study of how Altech's using digital marketing and digital channels. Okay, looking at the three biggest, which are Netstar, Autopage, and our friends at Altech Multimedia. LinkedIn, none of them were already using it. YouTube, Netstar had 2 adverts. All right.
Okay, but give us examples of how you think they can use it.
Okay, so let me just give you the audit first. All right. Twitter, no one had accounts. All right. And when I say had, they still don't. The one area where they are quite big is Hello Peter. Everybody's on Hello Peter.
Yes.
All right, which is the South African only version for complaints. How can they improve? Really easy. I mean, for a start, you know, if you want to engage with B2B, you need to have a LinkedIn profile. You need to be able to be. Look, you and I both know that traditional marketing, you market to a customer. Digital marketing, it's a two-way conversation. All right, and Altech does not have these two-way conversations. Okay, it's very simple. They are trying to remedy this with shared service. There is a section for digital/social media marketing, and a head has been identified. But yeah, so they can start off by looking at, especially in the B2B businesses, LinkedIn, okay, which is not even used as a sales resource in terms of generating both contacts and leads. Secondly, Twitter. You're trying to ask the Autopage guys, how do you engage Autopage? Yeah, you phone someone. Okay, that's how you engage Autopage. Simple. You can't tweet a problem and get something back. You can't go, I mean, you can Hello Peter them, but then it's too late.
Yeah.
Okay, and that you don't really want either.
Yeah.
You can't. None of them have Facebooks. Okay.
We actually have a system in our building that can do Twitter and Facebook.
Yes, but you still don't use it.
Yeah, but because
I don't work at
the firewall is closed down because we're not allowed to go on Facebook.
Okay, so
Yes, that's the other problem, no?
So the servers are not allowed to go into Facebook or Twitter.
Yeah.
So the system is there. We bought it 5 years ago.
yeah.
We tried to install it, and then it was a risk for the business to connect to the servers to Facebook or Twitter. So then all the ports were closed.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, that I've seen. Okay, what was the reason for them purchasing that? What did they want to do with it?
because we had a panic mechanic firewall specialist that doesn't allow any ports to be open to the outside world.
No, that I've seen, yeah, that is true. But
Yes.
when they purchased it, they must have thought that they could get value from it?
Yeah, we use it for the SMSs because it's our SMS campaign. It can do SMS, MMS, Twitter, Facebook. It can also, there's 3 or 4 other social media things that I don't know.
And what type of SMSs and things would go out?
Well, if your account is not up to date, we send you an SMS, or we send you an SMS to say thank you for your payment, or if you fax something through, we reply and say thank you for your fax.
Yes.
And if you, well, basically any interaction that if you call the call center and they log a request, we send a response back saying we've logged the request, this is what happened, this is the final end result.
And that is marketing opportunities. So often we think that is mere communication, but it is a connection between a customer and a company that says, where am I in my relationship at that point in time? So even sending an SMS is part of a possible digital marketing side.
That whole system is integrated into our CRM. So you can actually tweet something into the system, and it will pop up on the CRM saying, this is the tweet that came in for this specific customer. But like I say, just it's inside the firewall. So it's a very good idea. It does work.
Yes.
I've actually tested it by installing it on my PC and linking to a 3G line. It does work perfectly. But
Can't yet work
no,
towards the
marketing
outside
department
of it.
doesn't think that that is quite yet relevant.
But you know what we are also seeing, and it is it's an argument that is, I guess, going to be an ongoing argument still. But some companies still do believe that if they don't have an open blog, that they are controlling customers' information, which is not true. And it's not true anymore. We just said Hello Peter is one of the big ones. And
No, it's the only one. That's right, I'm saying it's the only one.
Yes, but if I
No,
have a
no,
problem
no.
of you, then I have to complain almost at a complaint blog, which is worse, isn't it? And that if I could have had it on a blog on your site, and says yes, but other people would see. Yes, they can see it on Hello Peter as well. Yes, they can see it on Twitter as well. Yes, they can see it on many of the other platforms as well. So that idea of protecting myself by not opening the information is something that, well, is falling away or has already fallen away. We can't protect ourselves against that commonplace of information anymore. We have to have better response systems of reacting to that. Think about and the HP websites where they were some of the first that had the courage to open blogs in for answering people's complaints in, where people could openly state that. I don't know if you can tell us a little bit more about why they did that, and because that was very courageous at that point in time, and many people said, how could they do that? They are showcasing all of their failures to their customers.
Yeah, I'm not personally familiar with that. I'm more on the enterprise side. But I mean, big corporations just in general have learned through very painful experience that it's far better to be proactive
Yes.
and get it out there on social media
Yes.
than wait until that storm develops. And then you're on the defensive.
And if you think about how people are literally, people are writing algorithms on their web so that they can search for the information that is appropriate to them or applicable to them so that they can address it. Why not just create a home for it inside your own place? To say, if you want to complain, tell us here in that, and make it so easy for people to say anything in that, and you then man that. And I just read a case study on the HP one, and I thought that it was very fascinating, where they said, okay, they opened the blog and everybody could see everybody's results. And they then appointed technical people that was on the blog all the time. And as people would say, you know, that little orange light is flickering, then, oh, you can do the following and da. So because sometimes it's really something small that you have to address on the customer side for the customer to go on. But one of the fascinating things that happened, and that they explain in this case, is that people would say, there's 3 or 4 complaints before my complaint, and as people are typing these, they see the other one and they know the answer, and customers started answering customer
Right, that's, yeah, I was just gonna add
complaints.
that.
Very
From
nice.
a customer service or technical support perspective, other customers support other customers.
Yes.
So there's a huge savings.
It's lovely in terms of that, because if I can just get the other people before me off of the list, then my question is answered fast. Yes, I also have the orange light. You just have to do this and this and this, and then it's finished. That is forms of customer engagement, what we've been talking about this morning. How do you get the customer more engaged, and how do you educate the customer? So often a person can also just flip through the files and say, have somebody not asked this question before? It automatically starts populating your questions and answers with more appropriate things that people are asking at a given point in time because of new products that we've maybe released. So there's so many opportunities that come from that, but it does come with a level of courage as well. And you know, we do see that at several companies where, yes, but it's firewalled in. So how do you then deal with that? Those are systemic issues inside organizations that we still have to get past before we will really be able to engage with the full side of that. Okay. Good. I'd like to come back to you on other ideas of how Altech could, just even if it's random ideas, to say what can they do with digital media and improving their customer relationships or marketing their products.
The very first thing I'd say is do something, all right? Because they're doing nothing. And I have communicated this to the marketing executives.
But why are they resistant?
It's a federated model, all right? So you've got Altech head office, this lovely building right here, all right? And everyone's responsible for their own stuff. I do it for Altech ICT, all right? I don't really give a damn about Shirley and multimedia, because that's her problem. She's got to do it for that, okay? I don't really care about order page. because and they've got a massive budget and they should be able to do it themselves. If their people aren't clever enough to do it, well, that's their loss. All right. So head office marketing seem to think that their objectives are in different areas. That said, is changing. All right. And as I said, they've now got marketing managed services. It's a blueprint. It's not implemented. It's underway. And the three big areas that they've got are, wait for this, events, because that's important, communications, all right, whether that encapsulates things like PR, public relations, okay, I'm not going to go into what I think it should encapsulate. And then there's the smallest one, where there's one person assigned, the others have about 5, 10 people, is social media. It's not even called digital marketing, it's just called social media. All right. Let me just open up a document that I have here.
May I ask there, on the eventing side, do they include online events or is it actual physical events?
Physical events. So
Physical events.
people.
Okay.
So just while multiple
And when I say events, I do not even mean going to trade shows and having stands. I mean social events.
Social events.
Yes, so I'm with marketing, and within Altech, traditionally, there's different marketing departments. There's no actual region. So now they're putting everything together from the shared services. But having said that, things like LinkedIn is an awesome tool to be able to. It's a blog, right? You can go put out ideas there and collaborate with people around the world on different ideas. But to be able to do that, you need the intellect, or you need the expertise to be able to do that.
Yes.
And marketing is seen as a marketing job, not as everybody's job in the organization. And we're not empowered to actually go and speak on behalf of the organization. So at the end of the day, nobody does anything.
Yeah.
Whereas I think that's a good way of showing your expertise.
It is definitely, no. But then on the other side, it's not controlled by Altech, and they are controlling their reputation, and they might be afraid of what other people would say under the banner of Altech. And so if we just, we do have to make the case for both sides of why people would be skittish about it.
That's why I have such a big communication focus over here. But it's communicating for Altech or Altron as a brand. It's not necessarily communicating as Altech Multimedia, Multipage, Arrow, you guys.
Melanie,
You've never heard of us, don't worry.
at Altech NewPay, we're processing banking transactions. Some of this is in real time, some of it is debit orders with some really serious value-added services on top of it. We have some 3,000 customers. They get emails every day being told what their transactions were overnight. New transactions loaded, transactions presented, the result of those transactions. If something goes wrong, let's say ABSA starts rejecting a specific card, it creates chaos. We communicate that as quickly as we can through a number of mediums. On the website, we have a specific place, the logged-in website, where they can go and find any issues that are going on. And if something goes wrong, we welcome the opportunity to make it available.
Yes,
So
but and I mean, it is such a good idea, because if you do not tell me that there's something going wrong with that ABSA credit card, then I might think something's wrong on your service side, no? So it covers you.
Receive 1,000 phone calls within half an hour.
Amazing.
Now they just go to the website, they see, okay, there is a problem on that specific PAN number, relax.
Yes.
There will be new information. And that thing will be updated as new information becomes
That's great.
available. when it's
So people have different
resolved.
access points of information. They can call a call center, but they can go on a web and they can
Yes.
see the information in many different
There
forms.
is a Facebook site that's regularly updated. And look, we're not perfect. Our own website, the events and things on there are past. There's very little future again. But there is a lot going on. Certainly at the individual businesses, there is a lot.
Melanie, have you had the misfortune to open up an Altech website? Yes. Note I use the word the misfortune.
No, I'm not sure how to answer this. Should I now say yes or no? Because if I say no, does it mean I went on the website or just the okay, sorry.
I've been trying. I cannot change my website, and it is archaic. It's my shop window. I cannot change it because it's dictated to me, okay, from above. And I've been trying to do this for 3 years. And as a digital marketing professional, please give us your impression of our website.
No, I mean, at the end of the day, the problem is when you look at the websites, it's very easy to see if the information is dated or static in it. And that does give an impression of the level of interaction that you do have with that organization. And if you think about how easy it is these days to create websites where people can continuously change things and feed things in, that makes it really come alive. So there's a difference between having a picture on the website and having real value add information on that. But again, what we have to get past, and what companies, and they do get past it, but they go through the stages of control to say, how do I control your LinkedIn page? If I do give you the right to publish on your own website, how do I control what you publish in that? The accuracy of that could be off. You know, everybody is not you, and you may think that you can do it. But what about if somebody publishes something that's completely off, or says something on LinkedIn that I don't want as part of the organization? And in a way, companies still feel that they have some control over that, although we do think that it's starting to become a bit of a figment of people's imagination. We don't have that level of control anymore, and we have to understand how they say the internet and all of that is not even about the fragmentation, but it's become completely fluid, meaning that it goes into every single bit. You know, if it's good, it's good, but if it's bad, it's really, really bad
May I ask
as
you a
well.
question which you can just give an answer to? On this, okay, you've seen the Altech website. On a scale of, let's say, -10 to 10, I'm not even going to use 1 to 10. You can go to minuses should you desire. How would you rate us? Just the website.
Just the website.
Yes, you are allowed to use minuses should
No,
you
no,
desire.
it would fail in terms of creating relationships and the potential that things
Is there
have at this point in
Plug in
time.
over here. Can I put something on the screen?
So I have a question.
You have to take up your laptop there.
Do I?
Oh, yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
I'll take my laptop. Okay.
So what is there an Altech slogan, or is there a theme or
Yes.
a message?
Creating technology changing.
Okay.
Using technology to change lives.
So because when I was at Nokia, you know, in the 90s, we had a very powerful message. Nokia is a technology company, infrastructure, handheld devices, and so on. But their message, and it's still relevant today, I think, Julian, it's your backpack?
Connecting people.
It's connecting people. And in a very high-tech world, what we were doing is we were connecting people. And that's just such a powerful thing. Forget about all these underlying technologies that connect people, but our message was, we're connecting people. And if you want something, it's got to be memorable, it's got to be short, simple, impactful.
Yes, I mean, like Mark said, you know, we do have a slogan there, but it has become outdated over time. It hasn't been updated. You know, I mean, in past, Altech had a number of different operating companies that had showed innovation. We were leading in certain areas, you know. Altech UEC, we had put out a number of world first set-top box products, you know. Netstar, you know, it was a leading car tracking system, you know, and there was a number of those examples. And it was, we were using leading technologies and we were touching lives. But we are no longer innovative, we are no longer leading technologies, we are lagging.
Okay, but what brought it about? And do you think people just became complacent with the fact? Success often does bring a level of complacency. And also just different eras. You know, companies do not stay on top all the time. And to say, and the lessons that you had from the past will not necessarily give you the same in the future. And
Being number one is a tough job.
staying number one, staying number one is a really difficult thing to do. And because it's not that you then learn from someone else. People often then forget that we can still learn from other places as well, but we have to stay on top of it. It is, it's not an unnatural thing to happen for people to lose that position. But let's see.
Here's my overview of Altech's marketing and sales. This once again is my opinion, and the executives do have it with their act on it. It's up to them. But as you say, we operate as a directory organization, which means we're all independent. Okay, that's kind of changing with shared services. So this I wrote 11 months ago. All right. So the marketing. Okay, here's the funny thing: is the marketing is supposed to support shareholder value, And those KSOs that I've listed there, 9 of the buggers, all right, are the marketing KSOs, all right? And only numbers 5 and 9, if you look at what those KSOs are, okay, only numbers 5 and 9 overtly support marketing, all right? And that's where Altech this is from a head office perspective, by the way. So this is taken out of our shareholder report that we give every year. This was from the 2013 one. Okay, and 9 says we'll optimize areas of synergies and shared opportunities. All right, and 5 says we'll coordinate and facilitate the globalization of the group. So that's from a head office perspective. Okay, there are, however, other ways in which central marketing does support us. Okay, they have media and public relations and relationships, and they control the central message. They control our websites. Okay. See, I'm telling you what they do. I'm not telling you whether it's good or bad. All right. They have the Altech Talk magazine, as well as the Altech brand, which goes out to customers, and they have Altech customer events. They also have sponsorships on a nationwide basis, but they're very limited. I think everyone will agree. All right. So areas where we as opcos have to do our own marketing, all right, is niche media and PR. So as I said, I don't really give a damn what UPay is saying or what UEC is saying, but I do give a damn what Altech ICT is saying, all right? And I've got to write the article, and I've got to disseminate the article, and it's my responsibility to do that, all right? Corporate image, I've got to present Altech ICT's corporate image, all right? Marketing materials, I've got to make my own marketing materials. I mean, I can show you brochures that you know, made by me. Obviously, I interact with external vendors, you know, so it's not just a copy and paste. Corporate hospitality, okay, that's perfectly fine. We'll take them to rugby, you know, sport, whatever. Any local sponsorship, any advertising, all right, we've got to do it. Marketing campaigns, that's done by us, all right. Electronic marketing, e-newsletters, once again by us. Finally, social media, digital marketing area, left entirely up to us. As I said, that is kind of changing with the marketing shared services. All right, my problems with this are the following. There's duplication in function, all right? Because I'm doing something that Shirley's doing and Keith's doing, and we're not doing it as a pool, all right? We're all doing it individually. And, you know, Keith might be bloody excellent at it, but I'm really bad at most things, all right? So I'm not leveraging off what he's really good at, okay? Discrepancies in budget sizes, honestly, they are a 6 billion rand auto page. That's what their turnover is. All right. When I joined Altech ICT, my turnover was 110 million rand. All right. My marketing budget is tiny. Theirs is huge. I can't access that. Okay. So massive discrepancies in budget. Access to personnel. Once again, these guys have you guys have a marketing department auto page. Multimedia has a marketing department. All right, Netstar has a marketing department.
No, not really.
We don't.
We don't have a obviously a marketing.
Okay, that backs up what I'm trying to say. Now,
you see, that's where the problem.
perfect.
Yeah.
You're backing up what I'm about to say. For the rest of you who have a marketing department, please put up your hand.
And how do you handle the marketing on
Yeah,
your
but
side?
what Shirley mentioned earlier is we don't have a marketing department. I agree with that from a quality side as well. But we have different people in different departments performing that
Yes.
marketing function.
Yes.
And what the problem there is, I see, is we don't have an official marketing strategy.
Okay. Again, the fragmentation.
Yes.
Yeah, so one person might be really good at engaging on these things, but not necessarily all the
Yes.
divisions. Is
Yes,
that what I'm
and
hearing?
I don't think there's a consolidation of everything into that one department. Because from a quality side as well, we've identified there's no customer relationship management database.
Absolutely.
For
And I can
all
even
the-
get to this. That's
all
my
our-
sales stuff.
Okay, that's what you're getting.
No,
All
no,
our
I'm also getting
customers,
that.
and what quality is doing for the last year or two or something, we've been trying to consolidate all the customers' information and put it on an ordinary
Yes.
Excel spreadsheet,
Yes.
which is not
Okay.
our function from
Yeah.
the quality
Yeah.
side, but
But somebody has to do it.
someone has
Somebody
to.
has to do it.
But on that, those are sort of tools that we've been looking at, like Pipeline is something that we've been introducing into our company within the last month or two, to try and.
Guys,
Yes,
I
because
personally think
then
that's
you
more
can
the sales
segment,
side.
no?
There is more on the
And
sales
I have got
side.
it further on in this particular.
Yeah, but we do want to
Yeah.
just hear their opinions as we're going along, and I just want to link onto something she said that is very specific around that. Now, exactly what you're saying, that we need segmentation, and before we don't have the customer information together and some information on their behavior, how do we segment, no? And then you putting it together, and just maybe something that you can look at. If you look at the customer relationship management failures, there are a lot in it because it's very difficult to consolidate data, and there's a lot of problems in the data that we have around clients. In often the way data is captured, the quality of the data, many things are problematic around customer data. So it sounds so easy to put something like that together, but it is so not. No, we all know that. Now, for example, often your customer data falls into a marketing department and then it becomes a subordinate function inside marketing. Now, if you take the BMW strategy of their car maintenance plans and all, this CRM strategy has worked particularly well. And you know why? What was one of the reasons? Is they said while their customer information was lying in marketing, it was not properly used by ops, by HR, by strategy, by all of that. And isn't the company there for the customer at the end? So they took the CRM system out of marketing and they put it into quality control, their quality assurance division, which was an equal function to finance just to get your line functions, although we all want things not to work so in silos, they often still do, so we do have to work with reality as well. So they put customer information on an equal level to other quality. Now think of their Roslyn factory. Their Roslyn factory has won best factory in the world several times in terms of it, so they're really good at checking out quality on that side. Now what if you put the same lens on your customer information of quality and said, how do I use that customer information to change my ops, to change my HR, get different people on board, to integrate my strategies into other things. So it is not your job at this point in time, but you should reconsider that maybe and saying that, isn't that how we get the authority of the data together, as by moving it away from marketing into a quality assurance division? In the cases where CRM work, we often see where it is not in a marketing division.
Yeah, so just to other stuff, my issues, once again, these are my views, not anybody else's. There are a variety of outcomes, all right? We all have different objectives, okay? And if we have different objectives, we all choose our own path and vehicles, resulting in divergent outputs on the marketing side, okay? And finally, and I use the word chaotic on purpose. There are chaotic social media / digital marketing outcomes. There's no centralized strategy, which results in limited social media usage by the opcos. And I'll go down in a few seconds just to show you who's using what. But it's as I said, all right, Hello Pizza is what they're using. Now, you asked for suggestions. Here we go. To rectify these anomalies, number one, formulate a central marketing strategy to give focus outcomes across the group. All right? No one has a... that's what we need to be.
But how would you do that?
Okay. Sorry, I wouldn't leave in 23 minutes. So
Yeah.
I'll write that on the PMA. I want to.
But what is very important on the how there is to say you are talking about all of these marketing people in
Okay,
different
do you wanna know
areas. They could come together on a forum to actually
Exactly.
create
All right,
something.
we have a centralized marketing function. It's now shared service. Needs to concentrate less on events. Okay, communications are fine. With social media, as I said, one person. The other teams have got between 5 and 10 or both. All right, centralize it. Say this is our message, and tell me. I'll do it for Altech. Tell Shirley, she'll do it for multimedia. Tell Keith, he'll do it for NewPay. Tell the guys Justin. I don't know if he's still Justin at AutoPay. All right, and say and coordinate it. All right, and then back up that coordination with saying this is what we're going to do to support you guys. All right, there you go. Secondly, create shareholder value by supporting the opcos to better market themselves, which is exactly what I've just said. All right. Thirdly, forge individual connections. That's a two-way. All right?
Yes.
I'm talking with you, not to you.
Yes.
All right. I'm solving your problem with you. All right. And organizational customers. So with the consumers, I'm looking at the Facebooks and so some of our businesses go out to consumers. AutoPage, Netstar. Others go out to businesses. Altech ICT is a B2B. Multimedia is a B2B. All right. So on the consumer side, get those, those Facebook and Twitters going. On the B2B side, get the LinkedIn part going. Get the user forums going. all right, all that kind of stuff. I think Mike mentioned it earlier, where it's a user forum where the users solve each other's problems. You know, that's kind of Apple. So we promote Altech specific marketing initiatives. Engage consumers via the Altech brand. And what I mean is by engage is don't just send them adverts, okay? So a little bit down here. This backs up my point precisely. That's old marketing, all right? Where I'm giving you my message, all right? And no one, the young people especially, don't give a shit, all right? But if you engage them, like a lot of the sort of campaigns you show, here's my Volkswagen game or whatever, then they'll listen. If you just said, you said to them earlier, how many adverts have you seen? I've seen 1,000. No one remembers any because they're not engaged.
Yes.
All right? So we need to engage people on the Altech brand, which we don't at the moment. All right? And then finally, we need to embrace new technologies and non-traditional marketing. You know, okay, I'll show you. We don't do Twitter. We don't do LinkedIn. Here's my very, very quick, where is it? Yeah, here's my audit. So Twitter, at Altech order page, at Netstar, not used. No other Altech companies have Twitter accounts. Facebook, there is an auto page site, there is a Netstar account, not used. All right, none of the others have it. Okay, LinkedIn.
We got one.
I did a search, but I couldn't find it. Maybe, and this is 11 months old, so if you create in the last couple of months, yeah, possibly. All right, LinkedIn, there you go. Altech Multimedia has a page, no one else has. All right, including Altech itself. All right, AutoPay, Hello Peter, everyone's got it, but you know what? The horse is bolted. All right, so those are kind of the, you know, the new technologies. Sorry, that's Michael Jordan from.
Okay, that's really lovely to see. Thank you. Now, the one thing that you're going to see that we're doing in the next section is that idea of who is that customer that you need to engage with. It might be internal, it might be external. And only when we've decided what we want to offer as the business unit and who is the customer, can we actually go further and then say what would be the most appropriate platforms. It's not about using everything, it is about phasing in things, but it's also about creating forums where people can co-design things and see where it is going. Well, so what we are seeing is maybe a company that is still wary of that idea of losing a level of control over information. At some point in time, people realize they don't have that level of control over information anymore. And maybe, years ago, they used to do these brand books, and everything that you did in marketing had to comply to that brand book. You couldn't do anything that was outside of that. But what about designing something like that for Altech and said, if you are on LinkedIn, this is the way, this is what we would prefer you to handle in Twitter. And it may still sound like, but we should be more free than that. Again, in environments that is not that free, we can't move from here to there in an instant. If people do want to control it to some extent, then let's create forums and that we can create some of that and then put it in.
The question is Altech a brand? Because it was bought over by Altron. Should we even consider selling the brand as Altech?
Okay, well, what would you, give me some idea of how.
We're in the Altech group, but the Altech group has been bought over by Altron.
Yes.
Now we're part of Altron, not Altech.
Yes, but what is the brand strategy behind that? Remember when Vodacom was trying to be, they had this whole debate, are we Vodacom or Vodafone?
Blue or red?
Are we blue or red? Exactly that. Are we going to go for the global brand, or are we going to stick to the Vodacom stuff that was so well known in the South African market? And that took years for them to say, who are we in that? Are we now Vodacom or Vodafone? So again, there's many case studies of what. Do you have an idea of, are they going to go Altron, or are they going to keep the Altech brand out there? We don't know.
It's been decided in the short term that both the Altech and Bytes brands, they're good names and they're well received in the market.
Yes.
They'll both continue to exist for the time being.
Yes.
But most of the Bytes people work in AutoPage.
What?
There's a lot of people in Bytes that now work in AutoPage, and a lot of AutoPage people that now work in Altech.
Well, the whole of
It's
ICT
everywhere.
works in Bytes, so do I. My company
Yeah,
is
but that's
Altech
irrelevant
New
where
Pay.
they work.
Right.
You're looking at just the brain. You're not
Yeah, from the
looking-
consumer side
Yeah,
or the
exactly.
user side in that, you
They're
know,
not worried who's
people basically just see who they interact with. But those are rules that need to be specified. Is it a case of that I have to have on all of my things, this is Altech, and then there's somewhere down here Altron, and then Altron starts becoming bigger and Altech becoming smaller until they switch
Well,
around,
normally
and then
you
the,
look
I
at-
don't
you
know.
Look at EBSA as a bank, or they EBSA, or they Barclays Africa.
Yes.
So what they've said, the EBSA down the bottom here, member of Barclays. Now it's gotten bigger,
Yes.
and now they've changed the
And-
listing name to.
and-
This evolves over time.
And I remember
And
where
then-
ABSA came from.
Yes, yes. from
The
four brands
amalgamated
of their
banks,
own.
exactly. Yes, they were the other ones. And then how did they become ABSA? They still had the other 4 brands on their communication material, and then yes, and then it starts filtering in, and you program the mind of the consumer to pick up on these new things over time. You
We're
don't
gonna
just
see a
smack
blue
on it
ABSA.
one day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
but-
then EBSA will go blue in a few years.
yes.
If
Yes.
they survive, because Barclays is closing down shops
No,
that you
no,
can't
no.
believe in. Okay.
No, they're going Barclays. ABSA's going
No, but what I'm
Barclays.
saying
Yeah,
is
yeah, the
Barclays is
brand.
closing down branches, 3,500 in the next 3 years.
Yes. Yes, but I mean things are not
19,000
looking very
Yes.
good, very good at that on that level. And if you look at their strategies over the last 10 years or so of getting the entire country banked, it has caused quite a lot of damage for them. So where they usually tested as the market leader, they are not nearly testing as the market leader anymore. So they are cutting some of their losses at this point in time, but also bringing in the Barclays brand to a stronger extent. And what is kind of an opportunity for them at the moment, there's been a lot of mistakes in, and now by doing the conversion between ABSA and Barclays, they can potentially get rid of a little bit of the mistakes that they've made as well. So the brand change gives them that window to bring that in as well, and say to, oh wow, I guess they would change now. And because often people relate visuals to actual physical changes as well, and that, or they expect physical changes as well. But the ABSA case and the Vodafone case is very good examples of brand transitions in. But we still have to make decisions on how to handle that. We can't just not know in. It's not as if you have one day the one brand on and then you just liquidate that brand, because that would be so silly. There's so much brand value in something like Altech or Bytes. né? How do you protect that, capitalize on that, while you're acknowledging the Altron side of it, decisions that needs to be taken as you're going forward.
Melanie,
on
if
that.
I also may just add there, I didn't just present the doom and gloom. The good news is, in terms of South Africa's most valuable brand in 2012, Altech was ranked number 32. The brand value is worth 2.5 million rand. Brand rating is an A+. All right, and the entire enterprise was worth 6.5 million. The brand value 2.5
Yes.
billion. So that equates to 38% ratio, which is one of the highest.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So even though
Again-
we're stuffing up, we have a very good perception out there.
Yeah,
Okay?
but maybe in terms of the things that you've showed us, is to say that they are stuffing up in terms of really looking at new ways of doing things. But that does not mean that the company is not successful or that Altech is not a good brand. They could just optimize
Yes.
the utilization of different and new tools that are there.
What I would like to say is I have presented this to executive marketing management, and there have been changes, all right, especially on the sales side, to, as well as the marketing side. But I'm not. My worry is Altech ICT, and that's who paid me. So I've got to. I don't do consulting for these guys. I mean, I can if they want it, and I have done it, and I've given it to them. But that's not my day job. So, and to be fair, I mean, we've seen with the marketing shared services, they are trying to do it.
Yeah, they can.
Absolutely. Let's see what happens a year down the line.
Yes.
And there is some good stuff. That
It's from programs like this. né? Programs like this offer other opportunities as well, because don't you sometimes feel when you sit in programs like this that I wish my manager heard that, or I wish one of the bosses, I wish that person heard that. And when we go through this training programs, this gives us a platform to say to people up in the hierarchy, we would like to make sure that we are able to integrate the learnings that we've had into our workplace. What about after this program to say, we just want 3, forum type meetings of discussions to say, look, these are the key things that we've learned through these courses in that, and we would like to see how we could implement them. Because if you don't use a course, it can sound like personal criticism. And personal criticism is not the best way often to get the change that you want, but rather say, you've invested in me in this training, and this is how I can potentially bring something back of things that I can think of serious value for my business unit. And you use a safe space kind of saying that, thank you for investing in me, this is what we are bringing to the table, and potentially you can get some of those shifts made. And they happen over time, and it's really great that you are already saying that it is moving in that direction. And use the opportunity, and this does present that type of opportunity where it's a safe thing to kind of criticize management as well. Okay.
I don't think any of us are criticizing management. We all have at heart Altech's best interests.
Definitely.
And yeah, look, it's, I mean, once again, I'm speaking for myself, not for my colleagues, but, you know, we all just want to see positive change.
Yes.
You know, and yeah, so take.
And I mean, there's complexities in organizations. People are juggling many different balls at any given point in time. So by looking at one space, we can obviously not generalize and say people are like that in general, but see from there on what we can implement. Okay, so what we're going to have a look now is we're going to have a look at some of the things that influences the implementation of digital marketing strategies. Thereafter, we're going to go back to the actual digital marketing strategy and then the measurement of it in terms of the high-level logic behind that. Okay, so we're going to step a little bit back and say what's the key insights before embarking on digital marketing strategies. What we often find in marketing is that the theory of marketing is relatively straightforward in terms of that. It's an organization giving something to a target audience that they want to buy. We use different techniques in that: product, price, place, promotion. We'll go through all of them a little bit later in that, and they've added then people, processes, physical evidence, all of these different activities or tools that we have to optimize our brands and our marketing initiatives inside organizations. So when people look at the theory, it's very simple. But often people don't use enough information thinking about what they want to market and how many audiences will be influenced by that. And if your initial information that you're going in is not sufficient, then it's very easy to have a very shallow marketing campaign where we are kind of deciding on what color should the advertisement be, where should the logo be, what's the payoff line going to be, and not necessarily asking ourselves, how does marketing integrate to the other functions of the organization to make sure that marketing helps us run a successful company and not just a successful campaign in that. So that's the next section that we're going to look at. What other things to consider before we go into the nitty-gritty detail of marketing? Okay, we can break some of it down into 3 questions to say we have to answer the following 3 questions. Who am I? Who's Altech? Who's my division? And I think that already came up in terms of you have different markets, some consumer markets, some business-to-business markets, acting seemingly in quite a lot of silos, and where people have a lot of authority inside to make their own decisions, but maybe lacking some of the integration. That who am I? So even in this room, it would differ for you. But who am I? Who is my actual customer or my stakeholder? Who am I supposed to be engaging on this? And
we also mustn't forget that customers are internal as well as external.
Yes. And let's put it this way. Would it help for me to market well to my external customer if I didn't to my internal? No, they say sometimes nothing will help you fail as fast as a good marketing campaign. You know, so because if everybody then says, okay, I love this product, and they react, and your employees do not know about that, you cannot give the services behind it, you're gone. And so very true. It's literally that the first point of call is your employee, is not your customer. And so internal customer, I want to make sure that my employees understand, and then there's the shared services components as well. But in this case, we see the customer almost just as a real customer in that, regardless of the fact that the flow of money can sometimes make it difficult to make the line between that. Who am I? Who's my customer or my stakeholders? So it's broader than just the classic customer in terms of it. And what is the environment that we are working in? Now, I've mentioned the environment a couple of times, and we'll do a detailed exercise on that. Environments have certain logic that is embedded in them. And often, when we want to do something radically different, the environment reacts. And it's resistant to change in a lot of cases. So we also have to ask ourselves how we phase things into our environments, into our businesses, but also into the worlds in which we operate in. So everything needs to be sensitive to the environment where it is. So who am I? Who's the customer? Who's the environment? Those are the three questions that we're going to have a look at.
Can I just say something? You know what I think? Well, listening to what Mark was saying, you know, we different operating companies offering your customer different services and products. And obviously now with this change services platform that they're trying to push through in place, then obviously we've been dictated from the top, from head office to say, okay, fine, you know, we want to now have this converged solution for the whole group and all the rest of it. Then it becomes difficult for you to say, who am I, who are my customers? Where I think where Mark was saying is that it's better to remember what your core product is, your core service, and then offer that as a separate entity or a separate marketing strategy.
Okay, but you're right. You obviously have to keep your eye on what is that core product in. But the question that remains on the table is how relevant that core product is to the market, and how well I position it inside the market.
Yeah.
Does it contextually fit the market all the time? So usually what happens in environments like that is there's different brand levels. So you have the brand umbrella that goes over everything in that, and that is what they need to get the rules tight around, to say what is the bigger brand. And then there's questions that we can then ask. They say it's either a branded house or a house of brands. It sounds the same, but it's not the same. No. A branded house, this is Altech, and everything goes under the same and it's mere products that we are selling from there on. Where a branded house, a house of brands that say this is Altech, but inside Altech, there's AutoPage, there's ISIS, there's all of these type of things that is inside in. To what extent will they still run under their own brands? And those are decisions that needs to be taken, and because otherwise it's very confusing. And yes, so in that transition, it's unclear for us what direction they are going to take, which makes it difficult for today to say this is how we're going to do that.
Obviously you need to know what your core focus is, because at the moment now, obviously with your cell phone industry and your challenges facing that now, and our core focus is probably moving more to the ISP side. You know, you need to know what that is as well in order to market to your customers.
Yes. Yeah, you have to understand the future shift that's going to come in, because that will affect the need of your customer and therefore the offering of your business.
Otherwise we're still pushing through the old...
True. So when we get to our practical exercise later, we do need to bring this back in, because the question is then, what am I?
Yeah.
Am I the product, or am I a brand? Because it does act differently in terms of how to put it together. So as we're doing exercises today, you can decide and to say, you know, for today, I just want to focus on a product, rather than trying to do the whole brand thing. If there's too many things that are still unclear about that in your specific space. So you can do it from any one of the two levels, either the corporate brand or from a product level. Okay. Now, the first question we're going to have a look at is the who am I? And it sounds like such an easy thing to say. Obviously, as a company, we have to know who we are. But is it that clear? Is what I am offering that clear? Now, already with what you've shared this morning, it seems that there's quite a lot of grey areas there. Now, if we don't know who am I, then how in the world are you going to position a consistent brand? And it is again it's not an uncommon problem that you will find. I worked quite a bit on SAP implementations. We did the quality assurance on SAP implementations. And I always find it so interesting working with these agencies that would implement SAP systems, and they would call themselves product development houses. But if you are implementing SAP, are you a product development house or are you a consulting house? You're consulting services, because you are actually implementing somebody else's software, and they're an agent for SAP. So then just that different thinking, who do I appoint if I'm a consulting house versus if I'm a product development house? It's two different characters, because in consulting services, we need people who are very good with change management, with managing people and changing people's behavior patterns of how they implement software in that. Where a product development house, we can often have a far more technical person there that doesn't necessarily have all the other elements in. So by just getting that wrong, the who am I, you can get the entire strategy wrong, because the who am I says who am I going to appoint and what operations am I going to run, and therefore what am I going to market, which makes your point very, very pertinent, but unfortunately not something we can solve today. But just putting that out there and saying that this is obviously an issue, who am I? Okay, let's have a look at some of the ideas behind these three questions.